welcome to New Meta Podcast, episode 190. We're back. A few things have been happening, and we're back for the first time in a while without any sort of weird holiday or break. We're actually back on the horse. We're legitimate podcast again, legitimate weekly podcast, as opposed to, you know, sort of sporadic once every month, once every 3 weeks, when we feel like it, when everyone's here podcast. So that's pretty good. Marco, welcome to the pod. How are you doing this week?
Excellent, yes. I nearly forgot to press my record button. Just pressed it about half a second ago. That's good.
Nice. Bit of editing joy for me. Feels good.
Yeah. Question to you, have you been getting up half an hour earlier every day? That was the big...
is that the thing?
Well, I don't know if it... I think that was a private conversation that I've now made public to the world, but...
No, is the short answer. But the long answer is that there has been some improvement, but maybe not as drastic as the half an hour early. But definitely giving myself more time in the morning. I'm definitely not doing the wake up at the absolute latest strategy.
Odd.
So that's something in of itself. But yeah. Adam, likewise, welcome to the pod. How you doing?
Yes, welcome. Thank you.
That's all right. Gotta get your voice in, because we might not have it if we're going to talk about Truesight.
Yeah, well, you know, that's true.
New meta Truesight, Adam.
I've maybe watched one Truesight out of the whole bunch.
That is so shocking for someone who's committed thousands of hours on Dota.
I did watch the original, and then Marco and I think we did diagnose that not going to watch an OG winning Truesight times 2.
They're all OG winning apart from the most recent one, and also the Liquid TI7, right?
So is it Kiev, Liquid, OG?
Yes.
No, well, the original one was about Dendi, was it not? Like, wasn't that not like the original Truesight?
The Fear and Dendi one, the free to play.
Wasn't that free to play?
Yeah, not really Truesight, because that's just
it's not even Truesight. Yeah, never mind then. And was it KYXY? Was also.
Have you watched that one?
Yeah, I watched that. That's the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, then I haven't watched a Truesight all the way through. I've watched all the cool little source film animations they did.
That's so harsh.
Nice.
I'll watch this one.
Adam, the true anti-fan, all the way.
Anti-fan, so strong. That is anti-fan. Yeah.
Cheer against villains.
That's true. You could watch the Kiev Mage one and like pretend it's EG, because it's like fly or whatever.
Yeah.
Should we just fly into Truesight, because it is kind of the biggest thing that's happened.
Well, I mean, if I'm going to not talk for a while, maybe I should start off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've probably consumed some Dota content that you haven't. So maybe I should do my spiel.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Sunsfan's new arcade game.
Okay.
Ability Arena. Have you guys played it?
I haven't played it.
No, I've seen people on my friends list playing Ability Arena and not knowing what it is.
Well, it is a new custom game. And I think it's Sunsfan, but I think also might be Jenkins. I'm not sure. But it is pretty fun. So that's what I've been playing.
How does it work?
It's like auto chess in a way. You'll end up with 5 heroes. You get gold to buy spells, and the spells upgrade. So there's it's an 8-player lobby. There will be only 20 copies of a spell total for everybody to fight for, and you can do combos. And so if you keep buying copies of the spell, they get more powerful. And so if you have 3 copies, it's kind of like a normal maxed level 4 spell. If you get above that, if you get like 6 copies, you'll have like the super version, and if you get 9 copies, you get the Gaben version. And then, like when you get a 9th one, it's like it makes a nice little like Gaben sound effect, and then everyone in the lobby is like, "Oh no!" Like Gaben Ravage travels out and then turns back around and travels back in, or like Black Hole has Refresher.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's some fun ones, fun combos.
And is it?
I would recommend it.
Yeah, Auto Chess was always good. Is it similar in the sense that there's items as well?
No items. So,
No
right,
items, just
currently.
spells. Interesting, okay.
And then you can re-roll the heroes because you start off with lower tier heroes, and then you can get the better ones. But yeah, it's fun. Like from a spell, and I guess you also have a character that you play as. And that can change from the game to game. So, like, Salamene gives, I think, Spell Amp for each mana spent, like a percentage. And then Pudge has more starting health. Legion Commander gives damage that scales every round. There's Kana that gives attack speed for each summon. So you can go like this crazy zoo build and overrun people. So yeah, there's like it seems pretty replayable, and if you want to just like play a quick little something and not invest a bunch of time into a Dota match, you can still get some satisfaction from the client. I feel like it's pretty polished too. So as you would expect from Dota Cinema / Suns fan.
Yeah, I just clicked on it in the arcade, and I like the artwork of all the heroes bowing down to Gaben on a throne.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, nice shout. I like that. I will give that a go at some point when I get the time. Although it'll be one of those where it's been out long enough that I'll just get wrecked by, like when I did Auto Chess, I just kept getting wrecked by people. Let's talk Truesight though. Marco, you watched this immediately after saying, do you want to watch it as a group?
Wow, immediately. About 12 hours later.
Really? Oh, okay.
No, yeah, messaged at like 3 p.m, watched it about 1 a.m.
Okay.
Get out. Alright.
Fine. I love how Truesight TI10 all cinematics. So this is for the people that like can't bear to watch. This is like for the Na'Vi fans that can't bear to watch another CIS team winning it. Interesting.
Well, it's just the cinematics.
It's just the
none of the
cinematics.
play.
Yeah.
Some good cinematics, to be fair.
Yeah. What's the? You watched it at one. What do you have to say, or just in general, what do you want to talk about?
So before watching it, I mean, I don't know what I felt about it. Maybe because it's been so long, and usually it's released a lot sooner to TI. Because more time had gone, maybe I felt like, I'll be less interested. Usually it's released a few months after, and this was like nearly a year after. But having watched it, because it's that kind of COVID, no audience, like a bit of a weird TI.
Yeah.
I wondered, is that going to kind of dampen it a bit? And yes, realistically, it fundamentally cannot be as good a Truesight without TI being a normal hype TI. Like if you think about all the crowd, I know it's only a small part of it, but it's just all part of that TI experience. So it was a bit different in that way, but nonetheless, it was still quality. And I came away from it being an even bigger fan of LGD. They might have some kind of king, dictator, Zhao 8 captain, but I'm like, I do not mind. Like, these guys are sound. I'm like rooting LGD even more now. I'm a big China fan for this TI. And then even the Truesight.
Go wash your face, Marco.
Go wash your, that is pretty quality. That was quite intense watching it. Like I saw the meme
intense
before I watched it, and then you expect like a bit of a comment, and then you watch the scene. It's like a minute long of wash your face. Nah, not really feeling it. Like I don't need to wash it now. And he's like, I don't want to. And he's like, wash your face. It will make
He's like, I saw you yawning during the game. You need to wash your face. It will make me feel more comfortable if you go wash your face.
And then he like slowly goes to the toilet. It's like, oh. So, but yeah, even the teams, I meant to say team spirit players, even those guys, I mean, I never knew anything about them really before the tournament. It was kind of cool to see them. One of my main takeaways, apart from before we go into any specifics or specific games, how PMA, the team spirit team were, is such a fantastic example to any ranked pubber. So I say ranked because if you play unranked, it's like whatever, who cares, by Desolator, Crystal Maiden, it's unranked. But to anyone who plays ranked with some level of competitiveness, the PMA of Team Spirit was so like, just uplifting. Always just so like, mistake happened or death happened, and like, yeah, we're still gonna win, like not even like keep your chin up, but just like, yeah, like whatever, don't care, like, oh, I meant to die. Or honestly, I was really impressed by it. That resilience, and yeah,
it's interesting the way they do their PMA, because from previous Truesights, OG obviously another like good mental team, and the way they approach it's different, because with Team Spirit I was definitely not shocked, but it's interesting how they do ask their other players to make plays and like specifically ask them to do stuff. Specifically, you know, there's that bit where they're asking Claps to try and do skewers, and he's like, well, I can't because there's a Rubik. Mm-hmm. And then there's another bit where they're asking Mirror on like Dark Willow to make some play, and he like does it, but it doesn't go well, and he like didn't want to do it. So in a way, it's like, oh, you've been pressured into doing a move that's bad, or that hasn't worked out. But like they're so PMA that it's like it's so just like, oh well, like we went for it. I mean, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Whereas like OG, I remember watching, because there's videos of them watching TI, and they're always like, oh, there's only one time in the whole game where they ask someone to do something. They ask for like Jerax to buy back on like a Wisp, and I remember Notel and Seb being like, oh, I remember that moment, because we never ask anyone to do
you
specific
let them just
plays.
do it themselves.
Yeah, or we'll say something in the generality, and then like they'll decide what their action is to like meet that. Like, we need to go here, or we need to do something here. So it's interesting. Whereas Team Spirit, like they're like asking like, do this, but it's just like so together, and so like it's still so like hyper PMA, even if it doesn't go well.
So they're kind of puppeteering each other, but without any kind of
ego
or animosity. It's like just pure PMA, but trying to help the team by helping each other and dictating each other and just trusting each other that, well, if someone's telling me to do this, trust them. Trust their judgment in a way.
Yeah, for sure. It's awesome. Just reliving TI is really cool.
Yeah.
That's almost some of the best bits, is being like, oh man, it gives you that flavour of what you remembered at the time. But also it does it in a different way. So the way the teams approached some of the drafting, I know the drafting is almost the biggest thing in this one, because the games were quite one-sided. And it's interesting rewatching it and being like, I remember at the time it was like all about Mag and, these heroes, but actually when you hear them talk about it, it's not as black and white as like pick Mag win game. It's like all these counters and other counter stuff going on, and it's interesting to see there's certain picks where, Spirit will be like, oh, we need to counter this, like Undying Luna. But then there's other times where it's like, oh yeah, they've just picked some like hero for the lane that doesn't need to be countered, and then we can do our own thing. And it's like, the insight's so cool. Yeah,
I think that's particularly true for this one, where, like you say, game 1 to 4, it's a bit OTT to say decided by the draft, but they were one-sided games. And so I do remember watching those TI games, and it being, for a spectator, obviously not the most crazy games you've ever seen, but then that means from a TI's perspective, Truesight perspective, where you're seeing that strategy and how they're responding pick to pick, ban to ban, And particularly when you're someone that's interested in that strategy, unbelievable value. It is so engrossing. And then game 5, I personally, I saw some clips on Reddit where it was like, oh, here's them talking about that first phase pick and ban stuff, and that game 5 draft was honestly out of this world. I think the best kind of draft Truesight there's been, because you'd had all this kind of one-sided meta previously, and then you got to this kind of end point of we both know like what we're good at, what the other team's good at, what like would win and what could win, and it was like, yeah, the first 4 games were super swingy, but then game 5 culminated into an epic draft. But then through the draft, first stage, second and third, it was like literally pick for pick, ban for ban. Like, yeah, this hero would be great, gets banned, or this hero would be great, gets counterpicked, or gets picked by the other team and deny picked. Like, all through the draft, it was mind blowing, that last game.
It was really interesting how much the games were like the draft. It felt like was over halfway through for a lot of them. Like, you can tell just from the way the players are reacting. Like, Spirit are really in quite a comfortable position game 1 and 2. I mean, you could say that if game 1 had gone to LGD, it would be the other way around, because suddenly like this Wisp would be a thing in the series. So it's interesting how like LGD pick Wisp twice and it's just really bad, or like doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then that's gone. But then game 3 and game 4, it's like Spirit are so lost, like they don't know what to do. You can tell because they're like, oh, this is kind of rough, but like I guess we'll do Disruptor. I guess we'll do like Disruptor Mag. We'll do Disruptor PA or whatever because it's like comfortable. And then they're like, Toronto, Tokyo, what do you want? And he's like, Invoker. And they're like, okay. It's not like, oh, yeah, we've got this pick here. Is that all right? Toronto, Tokyo. And also the game 4 draft, that really was just like the ultimate stomp, that game.
Yeah.
When they have this like axe and they're like, oh god, are we seriously going like axe TA? They just have no idea. And LGD have got this like nutty lunar mag draft what they planned that like fits together, it seems like, from phase 1, where they're like every pick's obvious to them. Because it's like they're so in control.
I do think 3 and 4 was so impressive. I think the 3 and 4 LGD wins were more impressive than the 1 and 2 Team Spirit wins. Because that you had the IO game 1 and 2, which was like quite a super fail. Yeah, Team Spirit outdrafted in game 1 and 2, and like they had the Naga versus Ursa matchup in game 1. Very Naga favoured. They had the Pango on LGD in game 1, which was like the first time Nothing to Say it ever played it or something ridiculous.
Yeah. And you could tell he like didn't really. They gave him 2 options, and he was like, "All right, Pango," because the Naga just got them so by surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Disruptor IO 4 and 5 as well. With it doesn't feel like the best LG draft ever, and Team Spirit draft strong heroes and Stomp. But yeah. It's all in. Each game's got its own interesting draft perspectives, but I did really like Game 3 to see Collapse's Magnus's get beaten, and that was the Rubik master show of, oh, the lift plays so strong, but really it was that Undying pick mega work, and like you say, the Axe pick, Spirit. So it's one of those, did Spirit draft bad or did LGD draft good? Bit of both. I know the Axe pick was Game 4. Yeah, it is interesting back and forth draft, and it's interesting to contrast the post-game culture, if you like, of the two teams. Like, one of these teams is mega young, all teenagers, with Miposhka a little bit older and Silent a little bit older, versus the LGD crowd, absolute veterans. Well, some of them are veterans, some of them are young, but...
Yeah, it's a mix,
Mix.
It's... Looking back at the finals, and also the Liquipedia, the IO thing is really confusing. Like, why are LGD so confident with IO to pick it twice, and to be like, this is our first pick hero, when their previous games on the main stage, they'd just beaten Team Secret's picking IO, and then they'd beaten Virtus Pro picking IO in the last 2 series. They picked one IO on the main stage, and they won with it. But they picked it once in the main stage. Then in the groups, like, they picked it a couple of times and won, but they've also smashed so many teams. Like, they 2-0'd Elephant, who went IO twice. They 2-0'd SG, who went for IO. They 2-0'd VG, and IO had a VG in one of these games. They picked IO, like, twice in the groups as well. Think about how many games you play in the groups. They had it, like, once or twice. So it's really confusing. It's not obvious to me why IO is so strong. And they played Team Spirit in the groups, where they 2-0'd them. And in one of those games, Spirit went IO. So it's really weird how they, like, come into it thinking, like, oh, IO's still in the pool game 1. That's a pick.
Yeah, I think they kind of got baited by... Spirit had Elder Titan and Tide Hunter as the first phase picks, and so they were like, oh, yeah, this is... And they'd already... they had already first picked IO. So
they just straight up first
blindly, so why you do that, who knows? But then, they saw Elder Titan and Tide and go, okay, this is like the ultimate Ursa. Ursa's going to stomp these melee heroes. Ursa with an IO behind him as well is going to be extra stompy. But that was not the case when, like, Naga comes out and you've got Disruptor Lycan. Weird emphasis on the IO.
Game 5 also, to shout out Game 5. It brought me back... That game really did bring me back on Truesight, particularly how painful that first
Tier 2 dive.
The Tier 2 dive bot, how painful that was. Because that was like go time, wasn't it?
That was 20 minute go time. Wolf Bite. Tiny's got... So one of the big flames is Tiny's got Shadow Blade rather than Blink. Maybe debatable. But that is the go time. Arme with his quote of like, fuck, I'm so farmed, or I was so farmed.
Yeah, that was nasty. I remember that one really well.
Yeah, again, really interesting because that was the turning point. They dive past tier 2s, don't get that fight that they really wanted. And it's really interesting because there were other games like when LGD played that combo and executed it correctly, where that timing came on and they ruffle stomped and they caught the heroes out the base and they just completely steamrolled. It just looked unstoppable what that Lycan Tiny combo was doing. But then you also saw these other games, like the Grand Final Game 5, like when Team Secret did it in Game 3 Decider, the lower bracket final. A similar thing happened then, where in their Decider match, third game, they pulled out the Tiny Lycan, and when we were watching it, we were like, oh, it's a bit awkward because it's not really a secret draft. They're doing it because it's been really good at the tournament. It's the lifeline, like, okay, can they win a BO1? But they didn't have that execution practice. And so I remember watching Secret, and they couldn't kind of execute the Tiny Lycan, and they were kind of chasing heroes, and it was Spirit again, dodging it successfully, or kind of escaping, or not being caught out in the map by the wolf bite. And if anything, Secret drafting Tiny Lycan Game 3 lower bracket final probably gave a bit more preparedness to Spirit in the grand final when they came up against it again, and they'd had experience beating it. They'd had experience of dodging and coping with that pressure and that timing. So maybe Secret are to give the credit to for winning Team Spirit TI.
Interesting. I certainly remember that Team Secret versus LGD, that game 1, the Lycan Tiny, and that one was like, I remember watching that and being like, whoa, this is new. This is unbelievably broken. Fun. Another thing, how triggering it is that the casters wore masks. I remembered that.
Yeah.
That is unbelievably annoying. Also pretty dark at the end when they're like, oh yeah, I can buy a house in Kiev now. It's like, hope you didn't, to be honest. But
that's not
very dark.
Yeah, that one was a bummer.
Truesight this year though, with this bloody AFK Norway panel desk, like Truesight, they're gonna switch from Singapore booth to some kind of like TI hub in Norway with OD Pixel.
I can't believe that's a thing. I actually can't believe that.
Or is it just panel and commentators are at the event? Or is that what it is?
I think you've got to do it all at one place, right? I think it's all in Norway. I think it's all in Norway. Because I remember talking about this before, and we were saying how it sucks that the players won't be able to commentate. Oh no, or did we say the players will be able to commentate, but they won't be able to panel? Was that it?
It could be just a panel thing.
Okay, in which case it's still terrible. But
yeah, it's still awkward. And back to the studio, across the globe.
Yeah. That's very painful. Ugh. But
yeah, you need the commentators to feel the empty crowd of Ricky COVID crowd.
How painful also that there was no crowd. That really sucked.
Yeah. They kind of dealt with it well. So there were a few shots where the players were going out on the stage, and because of the smoke, kind of carbon smoke stuff, you couldn't see the seats. And I was like, you've hidden the crowd really well.
Yeah. Anything else we want to mention on Truesight? I don't think there is from me. I think that's just about everything that we have.
Yeah, let's go.
I don't have anything to add.
Cool. Yeah, let's go. Are you not annoyed by, because you say let's go China, but like realistically LGD, their two biggest cores, realistically their two biggest cores are like dead inside.
What, Army nothing to say?
Yeah, they literally have nothing to say. They're like awkward. Is the language barrier? Does the language barrier like make it acceptable because you're not? Like when you watch Truesight, you're not. It's not like you're watching two Annas where you know the language and you know how zero personality they have.
So Army nothing to say got no personality. Like, what's the issue?
Well, the issue is that you get triggered by players with no personality.
Mate, Army nothing to say are beaming with personality. Army where he just says nothing but like, sure.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. Fucking hell.
Nice.
And then, nothing to say like, don't look. Yeah, he gave me like kind of PMA vibes. It's a nice, happy face.
Yeah, I mean, what could you
say? If anything,
Faith Beyond God, I'm all about that.
Faith Beyond was pretty cool. I do think he's to blame for saying, when Zhao was like, I'm going to first pick Magnus, I'm going to first pick Magnus, I'm going to first pick Magnus. And then, oh wait, was it Faith Beyond or why? I can't remember. One of them was then like, what do you think about
it's
Why? Tiny?
Why literally has so many little comments.
Niggly comment.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
standing behind. Yeah.
For like minutes on end, Zhao Wei's repeating Magnus first pick. And then literally like the tiniest, what about Tiny? And then Zhao Wei's like, first pick Tiny. It's bro, come on, let him pick Magnus.
Why has so many little comments like that? Especially in that first or second game where he suggests something and Zhao Wei's like no, and then they're like laughing about how Wise just like got sent to the Shadow Realm with his suggestion. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, why Faith Beyond are like pretty beast TI winners? So
Faith Beyond's the Western connection. He always does like the Western interviews because he speaks English and stuff.
That's cool.
So he's Faith Beyond. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, I'm much more into that team now. I used to not be that bothered about LGD with like post Somnus leaving and Chalice leaving, stuff like that. But I'm back into these guys. I know Arme's like, you call him a robot or a choker or whatever, but the guy's a monster.
He also is like, he's such a staple of just like, he's like a god. Do you know what I mean? He's like a Dota god. He's like a staple Dota god.
He's like what RT's meant to be like. There was a time where they were both like, oh, these are our Pos 1 gods. Wow, gods. And then you go, wait, actually, Artor has achieved jack shit compared to what Arme's achieved. Like, he's actually a beast.
Yeah, so you get the Somnus Chalice stack anyway.
Yeah, for RNG.
And Kaka X Nova. No. Crikey, that's a hype stack for RNG, yeah.
Yeah, that was a really hype stack.
Super Captain. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to get behind RNG as well.
I've got a signed Super Furion set. No, I got signed Super. I think it's Storm Spirit set. Joe got, I think from Joe's TI with brother Joe, friend of the pod, going to TI with Come Down With Me. From that TI, I believe I got like a card that you then get a gift code, and it's a signed set of Super. So
Oh, that's so disappointing that he's in good shape now. I just went in his Wikipedia and he looks like he's in good shape. Back in the day when he was like playing for LFY in like TI7 Truesight, he's just like really fat. That's the super I remember. Anyway.
Storm Spirit physique.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about games, shall we? And then we can talk about other fun stuff, heroes and stuff. I'm just going to jump in on my own game first because I don't think I've got a whole lot to say. I played, honestly, the most boring game in a long time yesterday. It was a Medusa mid-win where the game was over inside 4 minutes, I'd say. And when I say
anything to do with that as well.
Yeah,
or were you completely absent from the win?
I was absent from the win, but it's one of those games where so you pick your mid hero or whatever, and your top lane gets like a double kill, and you're like, wow, this is great. And then your top lane gets another double kill like 30 seconds later. And you're like, well, that the game's almost over in of itself, and then you solo kill their mid, and like your safe lane gets a kill, and you're like, okay, this game's not happening anymore. And yeah, they had a very odd lineup. They had like a support Faceless Void, so it's one of those where if you're playing support Faceless Void and you lose all 3 lanes, yeah, you're not gonna win the game. So that's basically all she wrote, and I just played like a little. Fun little deucer win. Not much to report there.
Creep simulator.
Yeah, a bit of creep simulator action. I don't think I've actually played anything else really since last pod. When did we do last pod? Was it Thursday? I actually can't remember. Something like that. Anyway,
right.
I don't even think I'm going to bother going into this other game. I think I've had like an OD win. So at least I'm turning the Reds around because last pod it was like Red City. But a nice win on OD and a free non-Deucer game, so all going well. Adam, how about you? Have you got the mouse and keyboard out this week?
Non-ability arena games.
Yeah, I played some games. Looks like I have 1-4 of my last 5. Smile. The fun is coming back. Shout out Black Widow in the Discord.
Nice.
Gave me some kind words. So
that was really
shall pass.
PMA.
Yeah. And
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I need to look at that.
When you said Black Widow, I thought you were on about the Broodmother set. I did not realize you meant a Discord user.
That's why I said the Discord. Smile.
Ah, very nice, very nice.
Yeah. So the PMA is back. All it takes is some wins.
Yeah, you were well emo last episode. Adam was like, what's
quitting
Dota anymore?
Yeah. I'm not enjoying this anymore. What do I do?
Play arcade games?
Yeah.
Play arcade games or just have your teammates pick core Marci. And then you just win over and over and over and over again.
Nice.
I played a Dazzle game where we won in 24 minutes, where their safe lane combo died 16 times in 24 minutes. That's pretty good. Just like I feel like Dazzle's OP because of Hex.
Yeah,
why does he have a 15-minute Hex?
Very good, yeah.
A long range 15-minute Hex, and I rushed Guardian Greaves, so we just kind of like broke the base immediately. I played a Lich game. It looks like Lich. That was another. I think every one of these games, actually, now that I look at it, has a Marci core.
Oh,
is that a boo or a cheer?
No, it's good. I like. It is. It's insane, and I don't know if that was going to be our hero. Oh, I got the old double heart Centaur Warrunner game. That's fun.
I love those.
You pour one out for heart though, because it's. I had double heart 5,000 HP, and I was only regening like 125 or something. They just don't make them like they used to.
Yeah. Plus 400
Used to when it went on cooldown when you took damage, that was the fun part. Because it would go on a 6-second cooldown, you'd walk away, and then it would just uber heal you, like probably 300.
Yeah, but it used to be like 450. Yeah, it used to be.
With just one?
Regen rune, yeah, you like gave you a regen rune. It used to be like when it was off cooldown, yeah, that was nuts. It's absolutely insane.
That was, pretty...
You basically had Slark ulti, but better.
Yeah. It's interesting how they balance that item over time from where it was kind of like Tranquils, where it broke, and then they're like, okay, it doesn't break, but it's less heal, and now I feel like it's even less heal.
Yeah.
Like even smaller amount of percent HP. Does it give like a flat regen though?
1.6% of max HP per second.
Yeah. 45 strength, 250 health. That's so much. That's so much HP pool.
Yeah, and that's what you love about the heart.
What does that give you? Like 1,050? 1,150?
I'm not.
20 times 45 plus 250. That's so much. I mean, it gives you. I guess maybe it gives you like more just stats than it used to instead of regen. But anyways, fun was had this week.
Very cool. Marco, any games to report in on?
Only the one. I played Alina mid. I wanted to play Quap, and then they picked it, so I played Lina. Played with Wiggy and Ramsey Bolton. Both played pretty strong games. It went late. I had a few kind of sloppy deaths. Game went freaking 66 minutes.
Okay.
By the end of it, I'm just like, oh, God, like, I don't know. It's one of those where I've got these kind of like ancient playmakers on the Magnus and Lesh, and I'm like, we're just going to sit in our base and lose eventually. We ended up getting megas a couple lanes down. So I do have a couple bad deaths where I'm like going out too aggressively on the map on my own. It's one of those where I'm wanting to try and get stuff done. But yeah, games are long, it feels these days. Mm-hmm. That's what I'll say. I've like, in my last 1, 2, 3, 4 games, 3 of them have been above 50 minutes. I know that's not a big sample size, but usually I'd never get near 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I had 2 50-minute games this week as well, out of 6 games.
It's mad how just kind of small changes here there just can accumulate to, whoa, games are fucking long and hard to end and win.
What do you think that means for TI? Do you think that's... It's got to be good, right? I'm happy to have that because I'd rather that than games that are trending towards being too short.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get a 75-minute slog.
You get spectacles.
Yeah, you do. It's a mix because you don't want it to be like too much of a drag. But it is fun, like that potential for big, memorable games, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it is definitely most suited to TI because you're willing to kind of watch full-length games and you don't, it feels like a normal random tourney going like 70-minute times 3. Like, I'm not watching this on a random Wednesday night.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Let's talk about some heroes and some other stuff. We wanted to talk about Marci Core in all of Adam's games. What's going on with Marci Core? Why is it core? Because as far as I was concerned, it was like a 4-5 flying in. Is this changes to the hero, the stun on the W now that's making this happen? Or is it just something that's always been there and now people are like, wait a second, why did we stop playing it core when it after it had been out for like a week or two? What's going on with the Marci Core and like what's the build, what's the gist?
I'd be interested to hear Adam's experience, but just to start it off, I do think that spell switch is fundamental in terms of how you now can play the hero. I mean, jump in, stun, initiate is a completely different ball game than jump in and not stun, initiate on a target. Like completely different ball game, I think, for a POS 1. And then in addition, it seems like some pretty decent little minor buffs to kind of talents and spells and bits like that. But Adam, it'd be interesting to hear his game experience on it.
Spits out damage, man. I'm talking about the core right-click build.
So are they maxing? I've seen 113.
Sidekick.
Yeah.
Yep. And so at level 6, Sidekick is giving you 50 bonus damage and 45% lifesteal. And you're getting 3 punches with the Unleash. So 150 plus your normal right click. And the pulse damage is big, and then you're going to get like multiple unleashes off. I usually just see the Marci pop unleash, and it's a double kill in lane. And like with the lifesteal, you're turning fights that you have no business doing at that stage. And then you got the crazy like initiation with rebound, and once you think someone's about to get away, you just dispose them back. It's a pretty good kit, I feel like.
It's interesting. So sidekick, got a tiny buff, 6-second duration to 7-second duration, which is nice. But I do think that with that stun on the rebound now, I mean, one of the issues categorically of Marci in the past is how do you realise her damage output as a carry? It was always difficult because you're having to jump and commit into a fight unreliably. It's not like you got any disable to work off. But now it's like you jump in and stun someone for... How long is W stunning? 0.9 up to 2.
Yeah.
It's
actually better to initiate and have the stun on the rebound now for your damage output than to land on somebody and they're slowed and then you throw them back with the dispose. Like if you're wanting to be a right clicker, I feel like the rebound stun is better.
Yeah, definitely. Doesn't give them any
%.
chance to do.
Yeah, they can't respond. So you can get around a right click and damage off, and then you'd pulling them back. And then maybe they disabled you a bit, but then also that unleash ultimate. Now you're slowing on your right clicks, aren't you? Rather than the last pulse, I think is a change. So unleash, you apply movement speed and attack speed slow per attack rather than per pulse. So you do like a few flurry attacks and then a pulse. So it's easier to keep on top of someone in that regard as well.
Mm-hmm. Also, it's an AoE stun, right? Before, it's a point click stun on dispose, and I know if there's someone in the landing distance, they also got stunned. But like that's very much more unreliable than just a straight up AoE stun.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and also even when you throw someone now, like that acts as a bit of an interruption. Like I think I was watching Gork, and we say Pango would be trying to roll into his ultimate, and then you throw them, and they're interrupted for a little bit. And have to reset that cast animation, and then you get some more hits off, and it's just enabling that damage output just infinitely more than previously.
And the stun's the same as Wraith King. Think about how fundamental to Wraith King's kit his stun is. Yeah. It's a 2-second stun. They're both 2-second stuns, and they both got plus 0.7 second talents.
And rebound has a built-in blink dagger given the cast range, and leap distance.
Yeah, it's 800, and it doesn't scale. Like it's level 1 800 range.
Yeah,
that'll probably get changed. You'll probably get a 5, 6, 7, 800 or something.
Yeah.
Type of deal.
The gap close is unbelievable. literal blink dagger at minute 5. It's like...
It's interesting, also quite fun to see some of the builds on Dota buff. Built-in blink dagger, but people still go and blink.
Yeah.
You just get blink anyway.
Blink abyssal.
Yeah.
And then you follow up with another stun. Whilst
Because you punch so fast, you're going to bash. No support can deal with you getting up in their face. One bash is all it takes. You're just like, oh, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's nice because, you can't attack for that little period, so then you might as well rebound off something and stun, and then your flurry comes back up and you attack again and get another stun, and juicy stuff.
Yeah, interesting one. In terms of the skill build, I was under the impression that people were like maxing sidekick now, or is that like not a thing? You are? You're still doing that? Okay.
As a core, yeah. Because it's bonus damage.
Right, okay. And you just
65 bonus damage at level 7 is big.
And is the dispose the last thing you're maxing? You're going like 1-1-3-1? And then getting the last point in psychic and then maxing W, I guess? Or is it a bit more flexible?
Yeah, that's the most popular build.
Most popular, okay. Interesting. And is this like...
On Dota Buff, it's the most popular. I think that would be the carry build.
Right, yeah. And then if you're mid, I suppose you can maybe mix up a bit more with the W, like depending on how much you're moving around a bit. Interesting. I want to try it now, and I know as soon as I do, I'm going to completely fail. But I want to try it.
You deal so much damage. It's really hard to describe. And if your support has any bit of a brain to help keep you alive, you have a lot of times where you live where you had no business living.
Mm-hmm.
So
you have that magical
you
thing.
can't pull heroes out of Chrono anymore or Black Hole. They just changed that.
That sucks. That
in the C patch.
That makes sense. I think the thematic justification for being able to dispose someone out of a black hole is kind of funny.
Ooh, she got a big nerferoo in the C patch.
Oh, really?
Increased rebound cooldown from 17, 15, 13, 11 to 24, 20, 16, 12. 7 extra seconds.
Oof, that is actually very big.
That one's you jump in or out, not both.
Maybe that will make people. That might make people max or look to get more points in the rebound, because ultimately it's only 1 second longer at level 4. So people might just think, well, fine, I'll just spend less time on the early levels of rebound, even if it comes at the cost of 1 or 2 points of E, whatever it's called. We'll see about that. I don't know. Have you had a chance to? Sorry, what were you going to say, Adam?
I was just looking at this B patch. She got a ton of buffs. So maybe that's what it was. Strength gained from 3.3 to 3.6. 5 more movement speed. 25 more landing radius on rebound. Like a 20% increase on sidekick duration time. And then the unleash flurry cooldown goes down a quarter second. So it's like 5 things that get minor buffs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There have been, just for completeness, the C patch came out, I think, today. There are a few Marci nerfs, just minor. Rebound cooldown, the most significant. So rather than level 1 rebound being a 17-second cooldown, it's now a 24-second cooldown. So given you were having a value point for quite a while, a 7-second longer downtime is quite a lot. And then the dispose distance throw is down a bit. Then your black hole chrono points and then.
Were you AFK for the last minute? We literally just talked about this.
I thought you were talking about 3-2B.
No, we literally just talked about the cooldown change and how people are going to get more points in rebound because they might not sit on it at level 1 anymore or whatever. Anyway, that's fine.
Marco doesn't listen to me. No.
Yeah. Also on this C patch, I tell you what, this is quite a chunky change. I know it's minor, but this is definitely something you see, especially with the games going long. It's interesting that Refresher Shard and Refresher Orb share a cooldown now. That means that there's no, like...
Triple...
That's like a... There's no, like, triple black hole stuff going on.
Triple Shadow Shaman Wards to win the game.
Yeah. That is actually genuinely quite annoying. There's tons and tons of fixes as well, which I guess is good, but I don't know if any of them are particularly relevant. It's cool to see Meepo getting some buffs. That's good, although the hero still doesn't exist.
I think the Refresher Shard and Orb one is fair because it was a... It's one of those
triple BKB. That's like all people... You have cores now getting like 4th item Refresher Orb just for BKB.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a bit too much.
And I think like the Shard was just so good. It drops so early, and it's so good because it's a free refresh, like no mana.
Yeah. I mean, a Shard
because it's like 300 on a normal one, so...
Doesn't it cost mana now as well? They've like really hurt it, yeah.
Did they really hurt it?
I think it costs mana now. I'm quite sure they changed that.
Now
it's like, no, the Refresher Shard.
Refresher Shard.
To be the same as Orb, I think.
Oh, if that's the case, then...
Oh, if that were the case, that would be mad.
I think that is what's happened. I don't want to...
I thought they might have given it a little...
We'll see. Someone in the Discord can tell us.
No, I'm gonna have to type it in.
Yeah.
Not Refresher Orb, Refresher Shard.
They added a telekinesis indicator for land ability to preview where the unit will actually land. So that is a massive quality of life change on Rubik. Think about the number of times you played with a Rubik.
Or
like as a Rubik, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll just stun and then bring him back for you to land your like LSA or whatever.
This patch, 732, no letter, went from 0 to 200 mana.
Okay.
On Shard?
On Shard.
Yeah.
I think the orb is 300, right?
The regular one. What is the regular
350.
one? 350. Okay. Right, yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Probably needed to be nerfed. I mean, it's nuts that you can drop like a Ags synth or whatever. I mean, Roche is pretty good. I don't mind it being a little strong. Yeah. But yeah, this telekinesis change, I love that. That's so funny. It's cool that they're doing this little patch now, because they very well could have not have done it, and then we'd be dealing with exactly the same patch that we've just had in the quals into TI, which is fine, but I like mixing it up a little bit. I'm a little bit scared that they're buffing Magnus, having just watched Truesight. I don't want Mag to be too good.
2 weeks away, right?
Wow,
is it? Crazy. Is that when the last chance qualifier major starts? That is a hummer in itself.
Yeah, I think so.
It is.
Like the 8th.
So just you search, it says the 8th, Saturday the 8th to Sunday the 30th. So it's probably, the last chance.
Wow. We'll do a TI preview pod at some point.
Isn't there like a long break? Well, no, there's not a long break.
It's like a
group stage is the 15th through the 18th. Main event is the 20th. Well, no, 20th through the 23rd, and the 29th through the 30th. So there is like a 6-day...
Yeah, it's so bizarre. That is honestly truly bizarre that there's such a long gap at that point.
It's like literally spend a month.
A week.
Well, no, you spend like a month in Singapore?
Yeah.
Again, I mean... Yeah.
Also, you spend a week prepping for one series. That's going to be like the most overly prepped series of all time.
Yeah.
It's really nuts. And what is it? Is it just 1 day or is it 2 days?
2 days at the end.
2 days at the end. Okay, interesting. Very, very odd.
I think we mentioned this last week, but you spend all this time, prep. You travel, a dozen hours or however long the flights are.
Mm-hmm.
Lose first one, you're like, all right, we're done.
Yeah, definitely is. So it's nasty.
In the latest C patch, it's good to see some Death Prophet minor nerfs, cooldown reduction, Spirit Siphon, charge restore, Exorcism, movement speed. So good to see Death Prophet get tweaked down a bit. And then from the Dota Pro tracker stats, Enigma was booming it. It was really one of the most picked heroes with a 57% win rate, and I think it was like an 8k MMR plus games.
They just keep nerfing these conversions.
So, I mean, 60% magic resistance on level 1 in the past, pretty meaty, but now that's now 30%. It's, significant. I mean, I was surprised to see Enigma have such a high win rate. Anyway, I mean, I think we mentioned it maybe with these long games, perhaps, and loves the
Isn't
late
it just
game.
The hero like wrecks the lane so hard. That's what I've heard.
That's always been the case.
Yeah. I guess it's just maybe more important now. I don't know why exactly that would be, but I know that this wrecking of the safe lane is why Enigma's so strong. Other heroes just don't do it as well. I do really like the fact that Death Prophet and Enigma are getting these big nerfs, because these heroes are in positions like POS 3 because of the way the game is at
Death
the moment.
Prophet's
It's like
5 position I've seen in pubs. It's gross.
Yeah, it's like everything.
I don't want that to be like you say at TI. You just have a 5 DP pushing down towers and like making the game short.
It's not even that. It's just like, well, I mean, that is a thing, but also just draft wise, I think if you've got a DP or a DP and Enigma that are both really strong, because of the way drafts work, they'll just be first pick. So it's like, it's really boring when you've got a hero that's just like insta first pick if it's in the pool. It's just like, I don't mind. Imagine if Drow Ranger or like some Terrorblade even was really strong. I mean, TB is always a bit of a weird one, but some carries are really strong or some mids are really strong. Just because of the nature of the position and how counterable it is, it still won't be first picked. Like, it still won't be auto first pick, even if it's strong. Unless you're EG and you're just going to pick Storm Spirit. But like, and DP literally will just be first picked by like every single team if it's good. And that is just boring. So
yeah.
I'm glad to see it get toned down. It's always dangerous with. I feel like POS 3 is honestly like the worst position for like if there's a really strong one, you just first pick it. I'm thinking back to like Enchantresses of the past and stuff like that. Nasty. But yeah. Anything else we want to mention before we wrap things up for this week? Any shout outs? In which case, we'll see you again in a week's time. And until then, have a final whistle.